I successfully beat Tears of the Kingdom without the use of the paraglider and only 4 hearts, meaning we never actually go to Lookout Landing and activate the Skyview Tower over there, and in addition to that, the game was completed with only 4 hearts, meaning that we never complete any shrines or dungeons in the game to upgrade our hearts or stamina. Now the rules for this challenge are pretty straightforward. Our main objective is to destroy Ganondorf and find Zelda. We do not obtain the paraglider, never upgrade our heart or stamina, and the use of glitches for this run are allowed. Now I already hear you guys thinking, what is the difficulty in this? There are speedrunners that already beat the game in just about an hour straight after completing the tutorial section of the game, and to be honest, I thought the same. But boy was I wrong. Side note here, the gameplay on screen was recorded in 60 FPS with a resolution of 2K. And yes, I do own the original game, twice actually, but for your viewing pleasure, I thought the increase of quality would do the video justice. Also, before we dive in, obviously I will be completing the game, so I will warn all of you now, spoiler alert. But in my opinion, the game is a goddamn masterpiece, so you should have completed it already. And if you didn't, stop watching right now and go do that. Now without further ado, let's get started. Now honestly, the run starts off with an incredibly slow opening, which honestly just feels like a big middle finger to the speedrunners of this game. We venture underneath Hyrule Castle and Zelda goes into full Pokemon Snap mode to take some pictures of the murals with her new Switch Mark II. After this, we venture down deeper into the depths below the castle and find this strange looking mummy guy in the center of the room. Obviously, just as we approach, the hand holding the mummy guy in check stops working and the strange stone falls off the arm. Zelda picks it up, and after we get bullied and have her Master Sword shattered into pieces, we fail to catch Zelda as she falls to her death. Gets beamed into the past, obviously. We are then saved and teleported away by the same hand that was sealing the mummified Ganon away. We now awaken in the tutorial section of the game, the Great Sky Island. Now before you think, well, I've played this opening myself, there is probably nothing special here, let me tell you that what we will be doing in the Great Sky Island is a little bit different and out of order. The order we will be doing things in will be to first grab ourselves the Ascent ability, then followed up by Fuse, and topped off with the Ultra Hand ability. Next to this, there are a couple of things we want to collect on this island before we leave. Our list of things to collect mainly consists of a ruby, shield, bow, arrows, fire fruit, Zonai device wing, Zonai device portable pot. So let me show you how we do this. So after our slumber we head out, admire the wonderful view, and oh, there is also a dragon in the background. I wonder if we will see more of that dragon later. We then safely land in the water below, because, you know, hitting the water from a height surely does not feel like crashing into concrete. We then head out to this construct, who gives us the Purapad. It is, in all honesty, just the Nintendo Switch, and probably the construct just thinks that everybody should at least have tried out Nintendo's best-selling console. But straight after this, the game expects us to activate the Zonai Ruin thingy here. But we actually have other plans. See, if we go and stand on this ledge over here, we can turn around facing our back against the cliffside. And by repeatedly doing jump slashes, we can make it safely across the gap and into the pond. I said, safely across the... Safely across the gap. There we go. Into the pond. We also grab a hot-footed frog from the pond below, which is not really necessary, but we make our adventure a little bit quicker as we can use it to make ourselves an elixir to increase our movement speed. We now swim ashore and travel up the hill, where 2 rocks are conveniently placed to kill the 2 constructs down below.
Nice throw!
That would be if I could actually hit them. I was honestly never too good at Wii Sports Bowling. We finish them off and equip ourselves with a sturdy stick and pick up some Zonite charges. And now we head straight to the Temple of Time. Side note here, the construct in front of the Temple of Time drops a sword and a shield for us, which we will need for some tricks later down the line. Now this is the point in the game where Roru tasks us with completing the shrines located on Great Sky Island. And also the point where we decide to go off track. See, normally the game wants you to get Ultra Hand first, but I will show you that this is totally not necessary. Conveniently, if we start moving towards the cold area on Sky Island, there is a cooking pot we come across. Next to this pot, we pick up some spicy peppers and cook ourselves a cold resistance meal, which will help us get through the area without dying. Now, on the Great Sky Island, there are a couple of Zonite constructs that are programmed to give you the energy cell to actually start using Zonite devices spread around here. One of these constructs is located on the right side after we climb up the hill to the snowy area. So we go there, he gives us the energy cell, and with this we can use the conveniently placed speedboat here to get us to the other side. We then start climbing up the snowy mountain, and after making it to the top, we successfully enter the first shrine, Gutenbach. The shrine honestly is pretty straightforward. We use ascend again, we slash, use ascend, use ascend, use ascend, and we're done. Now, after we get out of the shrine, we use ascend. Then head over to the overhang right here and use ascend again. And this is also the place where we use the first glitch of the run, the duplication glitch. See, if Link is in any animation where he is not physically able to hold items in his hand, he will straight up drop them on the floor. So let's say we start a shield surfing animation. Then go into our inventory, hold the items we want to duplicate, and then simply exit the menu by pressing B and Y at the same time to sort our inventory and then close it. We will not lose the items in our inventory, but still drop the amount we were holding on the floor. We do this to duplicate some of the frogs, to make the elixir, and of course some Zonite charges. Straight after this, we dump our Zonite charges into the giant gacha machine and acquire the needed parts of our checklist, namely the wing and portable cooking pot. After this, we jump down, move over to one of the wing gliders that is actually stuck behind the giant icicle. If we slash the icicle, the wing comes loose and we can steer it straight to our next shrine. Now before we enter the next shrine, we head over to this choo-choo spawn over here and finish it off for some monster parts to brew 2 hasty elixirs. Now it is time to head to our second shrine, In Isa Shrine. This shrine also plays out pretty normal as we collect the claymore at the start, fuse a rock onto it, break the wall to the next section, we then break the pillar to acquire 5 arrows from the chest that drop down, pick up some fire fruits in the next room and shoot down the chest up there. With the key now acquired, we head over to the locked door, then avoid the construct and head to the end. That's another shrine completed. Straight after we are back outside, we fuse a wing onto our shield to increase our shield jump height and distance a bit needed for the next shrine. Then we start moving forward and head down this hole right here. We walk all the way to the end, use ascend and collect some arrows over there. It is then time for the next trick up our sleeves. And honestly, boy, it did take me some time to figure this one out. See, the trick is to stand on this ledge, then deploy a wing right as we start moving towards the edge. So the wing will actually drop down. Leaves enough time for us to jump onto it and then glide towards the Ultra Hand Shrine. Of course, your boy got it first try, no problem. I wish. After let's say a good 20 attempts, some of them were actually really close. I finally figured out that drinking the hasty elixir makes this a lot easier and the wing will actually drop off the edge instead of just getting stuck on the edge. After I figured this out, it took me just a couple of more tries before I finally got it, and ascended my way to the Yuku Shrine. Now this is where I can show you why we fused the wing onto our shield. Now normally the game wants you to use Ultra Hand to then use these conveniently placed stone slabs to cross the gaps, but having the wing attached to our shield, we can use a shield jump to make it across. We can actually then do this the second time, and for the third part, the game normally wants you to fuse a hook to a wooden plank, but this can also be avoided by simply surfing on the rail. And that's it, shrine completed. Now outside of the Ultra Hand Shrine we jump off, grab some arrows along the way, and finally make our way into the Temple of Time, where we now receive the recall ability. See, again we can utilize the shield jump to get across without using the recall ability at all, making our way to the top and successfully open the doors in the back. Well, after we complete one more shrine, that is. Since we now obtained the ability to quick travel, we can make our way back to the place we previously awoke. See, there is this one corner in the room where we can stand and use the ascend ability to also skip the entire puzzle of getting to the recall shrine. The Nachoya Shrine. I don't know why, but this name, Nachoya, always makes me think of nachos and Mexican food. It's a bit weird, but yeah. We actually do this shrine like intended, use our recall ability a couple of times, and get to the end safely. And that's the final shrine completed. Now at this point we would actually be done with the Great Sky Island. However, there is one more thing on our checklist that we still did not get. And that's the ruby. Now if we head out to the shrine, jump off on the left side over here, we can safely land into the water and not take fall damage. I said safely. Yes, that's more like it. There's a cave over here that luckily for us has a gem rock with a ruby inside. Now all things are collected. We can teleport back to the Ultra Hand Shrine and make our way to the Temple of Time again, and finally open the doors to complete the Great Sky Island. But hey, you didn't think we would jump down the intended way, right? Of course not. See, our next objective does not consist of going to Lookout Landing, since we have more pressing matters to attend to, namely to destroy Ganondorf. So that is why we drop a wing, attach 2 fans to it, use recall to make it hover off the edge, and fly straight to Hyrule Castle. Now, since we are pretty high up, we probably need a way to break our fall here. And we need to cancel out the damage that we would normally take. Luckily for us, there is another glitch we can utilize. See, if we cancel our dive animation, then pull out the bow to go into bullet time, open up our ability menu at the same time as doing a jump slash, then when letting go of the buttons, there is a split second on which we can open our shield menu. We then swap shields, meaning we unequip our current one, then press R to dive again, and on the very last second, cancel that dive again. This successfully cancels out all of the fall damage we would normally take. I know that's quite something to take in, but if you want a full tutorial on this one, I recommend a tutorial by Limcube, and I will link it in the description down below for all of you. So now that we arrived successfully at Hyrule Castle, we climb into this window, get a traveler's bow from the chest in here, and make our way back outside to stand underneath this convenient ledge, which we can ascend through to pick up yet another bow and some arrows. We are now in the observation room of the castle, where there is this opening down below that goes into the royal hidden passage, where we need to collect our next couple of items to prepare for the final fight. See, if we go down here, there is a chest that contains a diamond, which we can then duplicate using the glitch that I previously already explained. So we duplicate the diamond, fuse one of them to our stick, and then demolish the Lizalfos over here on the stairway. We then venture a bit deeper and find this bokoblin over at a campfire. So we sneak up to him and use a sneak strike to make quick work of him. We then pick up his weapon and his guts. And also loot the Knight's Halberd from the chest in this room. This Knight's Halberd will come in clutch as it doubles the attack power when we are down to our last heart. You will see why. We then head over to the boxes in the corner and we hope for some bananas and Endura shrooms to first duplicate and then cook ourselves an attack up meal, as well as a couple of stamina extending mushroom skewers. Now after this, we fuse a diamond to our newly acquired halberd and then perform the coolest glitch of this run. The glitch is called the Zuggle glitch. See, this glitch is a bit harder to completely understand. But the main gist of it involves overriding the current weapon we are holding in our hand with another one of the same weapon. So Link basically holds 2 weapons in his hand at the same time. Through some menu trickery, we can actually stack up this weapon a total of 10 times in Link's hand. Now, as previously mentioned, when down to the last heart, this attack power also doubles because we are using the halberd. So you can imagine what this is going to do to the bosses we have to face in the depths. Again, also for this glitch and for a better understanding of it, I recommend you go and watch Limcube's tutorial on it. I will link it down yet again in the description down below. So now, after successfully performing the Zuggle glitch exactly 10 times, we now can ascend to the top of the crater left by Hyrule Castle rising into the sky. We now go to the edge here and jump down into the deep depths, where we then also have to perform another fall damage cancel exactly the same way as we did it before. Okay, now this is where the run begins to get significantly harder, and I have to say that it took me quite a couple of tries to get this right. We first have to jump down in this hole past the likes that are stationed on the wall, and then have to scale a cliff where at the same time we are getting chased by some horriblins throwing rocks at us. Luckily for us, the rocks all miss and we safely make it across to the top. Well, I wish. After a couple of attempts, we finally reach the top, where we then straight up are being chased by electric Kisses. Aiming our bow at them, we can make quick work of them, then jump down and collect their wings and eyeballs. The next room is a tricky one. At least, I thought at first. The next room houses a Lionel that will be our main source of fuse materials for the final boss fight. And since our weapon now has increased damage, he's actually a piece of cake. So we jump down off the edge, go into bullet time, and with some well-timed headshots, we down the Lionel for us to swoop in and hear the satisfying sound of the critical hits. Wait. Damn it, I actually wasn't on 1 heart for this to work, so that's a reload and we have to do it again. There, that's way better. This Lionel drops 2 items that we have not ever picked up before. His shield and his bow. And luckily for us, there is another glitch that we can perform here to duplicate them. See, picking up a new item that we never had picked up before makes this text pop up. Then entering the inventory from this screen, then sorting it and equipping a different bow, then exiting the menu, makes the bow that was originally not a Lionel bow appear as if it was a Lionel bow on my back. Then dropping the item literally duplicates the bow, and we now have 2 Savage Lionel bows. Honestly, I love this bow, it is so OP, and you will see why in a bit. We then go over to the shield and do the exact same here, so we have now 2 Lionel bows and 2 Lionel shields. We then pick up the rest of the Lionel parts, and most important here is the horn and the royal broadsword. We now somehow have to get up here with only 1 heart. And I have no idea how people figure this out, but if we make our way to the edge over here, we can drop a wing device, we can then jump onto the wing device and use ascent on a very specific part of the wall to dive up. It is here now that we duplicate some items we have, namely the ruby, the Keys wings and eyeball, and the Lionel horn. The next section consists of a large hallway with a couple of ice likes and Kisses, which we can make quick work of using our Lionel bow and the ruby fused onto our arrow. We can now quickly run through here, picking up an ice Kisses eyeball on the way. At the end of the hallway there is a large hole where we have to jump down, and we successfully perform another fall damage cancel. Yeah. God damn it. We successfully perform another fall damage cancel, freeze the 2 Lizalfosses on the bottom here, quickly run behind them and fuse a rocket to our shield. As we now run out of this room, 2 giant choo-choo slimes appear, which we need to kill in order to obtain some choo-choo jellies, also needed for the boss rush at the end. From here we jump down and get scared to death by the gloom hands that are quickly approaching us. But luckily, we can just ascend in time for it to reach us. I mean, we climb up and safely make our way to the top. Please don't see me, please don't see me, please don't see me. Fuck me. Luckily, we spawn right over here. We can then use our claymore that we still had from the Fuse Shrine to throw and destroy the rocks in our way to uncover a treasure chest that gives us exactly 10 bomb flowers. We now rush down the stairs and hey, I think we have been here before. Not too long ago actually. We can now use the acquired bomb flowers to blast open the room in which Zelda previously made the pictures. And again, blast open our way further down in the depths. I wonder if that mural that was covered up before would have provided us some more valuable information. But hey, no time for that, as we now rush down and perform another fall damage cancel, get our hearts down to 1 again, and then find ourselves on the final platform standing between us and the boss rush before Ganondorf. Up on this platform there is just one more thing we have to do. We quickly fuse a bomb flower onto one of our shields, and it is now time to jump down and get the fight started. Honestly, dealing with these bosses will be a breeze with our weapons stacked to 10. That's what I thought. But, boy oh boy, I was in for a learning curve. So, the boss rush opens up with a wave of bokoblins and their chief, the boss bokoblin. Using a bomb flower fused to our shield and then performing a seal curve will send us high up in the sky. We can then enter bullet time and blast some precise ruby arrows at the horde down below, making quick work of them. While they are still screaming their lungs out and slowly evaporating, we quickly drop another bomb and fuse it to our shield, ready for the second round. This pretty much plays out exactly the same as the bokoblins before. We use the bomb shield to launch ourselves up in the sky, and this time it is the Lizalfosses that did not see the ruby-infused arrows coming. My god, the triple Lionel bow in combination with these arrows is simply amazing. Important here for us is to find a Lizalfoss that was holding a royal halberd, which we pick up because it increases flurry rushes. You will see why. The next wave throws some Redads at us. I know, they're called Gibdos, I'm sorry. But yeah, their only weakness is pretty much just elemental status effects, before they can then be harmed. But hey, ruby-infused arrows. Let's go. The final wave then spawns a couple of moblins who are also dealt with exactly the same way. We jump up high and blast away. Now, in all honesty, the learning curve for the first part of the boss rush, the Demon King's army, was not as difficult as I thought. However, what came next literally sent shivers down my spine. Hey, no pun intended. The first boss on the list is Kulgera, who is, you guessed it, normally defeated by using the paraglider to soar through the sky, and fire some precise arrows at his 3 weak spots on his belly. Since we do not have the paraglider, our only option here is to use a rocket shield, fly up high into the sky, and we then exactly have 3 shots at him before our stamina runs out and we fall to our death. I think you get the picture of how this one went. Dying here also literally means to start the boss rush from the very beginning again and having to deal with all of the previous rounds again. Of course, doing so made me get better and better at the army fight to a point where I would almost never die to them again. Now, after a couple of tries, I finally made it past the first phase of Kulgera, as I now had figured out a spot to stand in, then get the timing right, launch myself into the sky and fire away 3 arrows and hit him until he reaches his second phase. To my absolute disgust, the second phase straight up drops you from the sky, having you fall to your imminent doom straight away. The only way to survive this is to position ourselves under the middle part of Kulgera's belly in the sky and have another 3 shots in bullet time at shattering the weak spots underneath him. However, this is where the Kisa's eyeballs come in clutch. These, if fused onto an arrow, literally turn our arrows into homing missiles. that when fired, flies straight to the spots on his belly, if timed correctly. Also, the stamina food I prepared earlier made it possible for me to have more than 3 arrow shots in bullet time at this one. But I still failed. The first couple of times at least. Getting either hit by Kulgera's hitbox or the tornado swooping me out of the sky. Having just one heart did not really help here. Hey, but still, all of this counts towards the process of learning this fight. And eventually, I made it past Kulgera. Lucky for me, the next boss was a lot easier, as Marbled Goma almost always starts off with the same attack, where he throws 3 boulders at you. Using the recall ability, however, we can target the middle rock, blast it back at him, and then making it explode on top of him. This will then stun him, and we can use the Ascend ability to dive up to his eyeball, where we then witness the true power of the Zuggle glitch. Yeah, those were 2 hits. 2 hits! So that's Marbled Goma straight into the second phase. The second phase also starts off with an attack where he throws a couple of large boulders around us this time. We can then use Ultra Hand to place one of these boulders underneath his body/leg. We then quickly run in between his legs to avoid the explosion. This will then stun him and we ascend up and smack away. These are 2 bosses down and 4 more to go. Next up on the list is Mukta Rock, and this is why we needed the Choo-Choo Jellies. In the original fight you would have to utilize Sidon's water power to smack away at him, but since we have not completed the dungeon, we need to improvise. Luckily, shooting at him with Choo-Choo infused arrows also counts as hitting him with a water infused attack. So we straight up shoot him twice, run at him, and again, 2 hits with our Diamond Halberd do the trick. Second phase Mukta Rock is pretty much the same as the first one, however he is a bit more agile here and we have to carefully aim our shots while he frantically swims around in the arena. Again, 2 shots will bring him down, we then run at him and bam bam, he's dead. 3 more to go. So yeah, Queen Gibdo. I gotta be honest here, this one second phase gave me some trouble at the beginning. As for the first phase, it is pretty straightforward. We shoot some homing electric arrows at her, then run up to her, and hey, look, this one actually took 3 hits. But then, the second phase actually has her summon a lot of flying and ground type Gibdos in the arena, that if they are not dealt with, they are pretty much a guaranteed way of quickly losing this fight. So the strategy here is fire an homing electric arrow at her straight away, and then dispose of the other mobs in the room with ruby infused arrows. And you have to be careful here to not blow yourself up. After successfully doing so, we then stab away, and that's Queen Gibdo down. Now the next fight is one that does not really come down to damage. It's the fight against the Seized Construct. And this one was the most RNG based for me. The strategy for this fight in both phases is pretty much the same, and consists of us shooting at him with fire fruit infused arrows to stun him. Then run up to him and stab him with a full spear combo to knock him back. Hopefully hitting the edge of the arena to damage him. Now again, I lost quite some attempts to this guy, because either my spear was breaking too early, which then resulted in me panicking on what weapon I should pick next, and then messing up. But that's the learning curve, I guess. Fuck me. So after a couple of more attempts making it to this guy, I finally have him positioned where I want him to be and smack him into his second phase. Then the second phase also went rather smoothly, and after more pushing around, he is finally done for. That's 5 bosses down, 1 more to go. Now this is where the adrenaline and the nerves start kicking in. Just one more fight till I reach Ganondorf. This final fight of the boss rush is against Phantom Ganon. And boy, this fight was hella easy. We back up, fire away 3 ruby arrows, bam, second phase. Then for the second phase again, back up, fire away, and boom, he is fucking done for. I honestly didn't expect it to be that easy, but yeah, Phantom Ganon with ruby infused arrows is literally a joke. Now there is nothing standing in my way to finally crush Ganondorf and bring peace to Hyrule. The thing we have to do now is fuse a Lionel Horn onto our sword and halberd that we picked up earlier to prepare ourselves for this boss fight. And this is probably the fight that I practiced the hardest out of all of these fights. Simply because I could not get hit a single time or it would mean instant death. For the first phase against Ganondorf, we quickly eat up our attack meal, then try to dodge his attack with just the right timing to get a flurry rush in. But fuck me, I could not even get a single hit in. To my biggest relief, when you die to this fight, you do not have to do the entire boss rush again. So now, the practice began. Attempt after attempt, I failed, but I always got a little bit closer. Eventually, phase 2 begins, where he now summons the clones of himself that can sometimes be in your way of a flurry rush and deny your will to live. Another thing, if Ganondorf equips himself with a Gloom Club, there is this one attack that is really hard to deal with at first. When he charges up, he slams down onto the ground, he sends a shockwave through the entire arena. And the only thing that we can do to prevent this is fire a well-timed arrow to his face. Which did not always go as planned. But then, after some more attempts, I finally got the hang of it and I got the run that I wanted. First phase, piece of cake. Second phase, close call, but also defeated. And this was the run. This was the one. I cheered, I jumped out of my chair, and I was so happy that I stopped the recording. I went into the folder where the recordings were saved, and I noticed that all of the footage I had from the boss rush onto Ganon, it was just a black screen. And I had to do the entire fucking thing all over again. So now it was time for my gamer mode to kick in. Demon King's army defeated. Kulgera down. Marbled Goma, piece of cake. Mukta Rock, just as easy as in the dungeon. Queen, who? Broken down construct. Ghostly Ganon. he just went up in flames again. And then the final fight, which went literally flawless. And now, the epic finale. I have to pause for a second here, because at first I thought it would nearly be impossible to do this without the paraglider. But then I noticed something. You literally do not take fall damage on dragons. So yeah, this fight is pretty much an auto-scroller, and you would need to actually do your utmost best here to die. So there we go. We land on his back, one eye down. We then dive up with Zelda, come back down, second eye. We then dive back up, back down, third eye. Dive back up, come back down. Fourth eye. There's just one more thing that we have to do. For the final blow, we have to land on his head. When jumping down, however, we normally do not cover enough distance in the sky to successfully land on his head, because we do not have the paraglider. So what we actually can do is do a couple of well-timed jump flashes to land on his head. And then, boom, it is done. Challenge completed. Success! We actually have successfully completed Tears of the Kingdom with just 4 hearts and no paraglider. Now, I really have to do a shout out here to the speedrun community for pretty much coming up with this crazy route. I have died a crazy amount learning this run. But I have to be honest and also tell you that the final boss rush is one of the most satisfying pieces of content to pull off the way I did in this video. I really liked that I could see myself grow over time, and at the end I almost completed the entire run without dying. The game has been such a crazy experience for me so far, and I have a lot of fun doing these challenge runs. I also have planned a lot more challenge runs for the future. So I beg all of you that are watching right now, if you enjoyed this video, please give me your full support by liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel for more Zelda related content. That's it for now. Thank you all. Peace out.